The majority of the year, our egg-laying chickens are in this pen, and we move this every day so that they have fresh grass and it spreads their manure out, and we just found that they're way healthier that way. But when it gets cold enough in the wintertime, this doesn't do it. So instead of leaving them in this, we found a better way to keep them warm in the wintertime that doesn't break the bank and doesn't require electricity. But there's one problem. About 2 years ago, we bought this greenhouse off of Amazon. It was just over $100, and we figured if it lasted a winter, we'd got a pretty good deal. And here we are 2 years later. It's held up pretty good. It's taken a lot of abuse, a lot of strong winds, cold winters. We love this for the chickens because obviously in the daytime it stays warm in here. What we do is we put wood chips on the ground. So weekly we'll put fresh wood chips in, and that kind of has a composting effect on the chicken manure and the food scraps and that sort of thing. So the ground actually gets warm in here. This works great. It keeps them off their manure because we're putting in fresh wood chips. The only problem we have is these zippers are super cheap, and with all of the cold and the wear going in and out, they've broken recently. So we've devised a plan to put a door in front of this. It's not like the boards, right? Yep. So originally I was going to dig a hole for the post that's going to hold the door, but the ground is super frozen. So I'm kind of thinking this is a better idea. There's no guarantees, but this is what we're going to try. I'm going to sharpen this post with this saw, and then we're going to try to drive it into the ground. The ground is really hard, so I don't know if this is a better idea or not. I didn't have post hole diggers, so it was either digging a hole with a shovel or driving this post. Also, I don't have a good hammer, so we're going to be using like a hammer this big. Neither are great options, but I think this may be our better option. So let's see what happens. This is why you always keep a tire in your front yard. It's like they always say, right? Perfectly symmetrical. Again, I'll remind you, I've had no formal carpentry education. Keep that in mind. Hard for most folks to believe. Look at that. I think we're literally pushing the entire ground down. I don't think the post is going in. Also, now that it's halfway in, I just realized I didn't put the flat side towards the door, which was kind of the whole point. So we had a change of plans, and instead of that post, we decided to use a T-post. So we put the T-post in, and right now we've just zip tied the hinge to it. I've got to go get a good drill bit that'll go through that metal, but this should be able to get it up and running for today, and we want to make sure we can get the chickens in here before the sun sets. So I'm gonna try to clean out this area right here. And then we're gonna put a threshold for the door to shut against. And then we need to put some boards right here to cover the open space. So this is working okay. We just have to account for this gap. I think it's about a foot or something. But I think we have some material that'll work. That's right, width. I just missed basically a piece.
You were talking about that stuff.
No, I didn't know what, but that's probably not weatherproof anyway.
Well, they said it's gonna work.
Warp?
Warp if it gets wet. It's not thick enough.
It's gonna warp, so it's not gonna work. We have this roofing material that was sitting out here in our field for a while by one of these old barns. And I'm gonna take one of these panels and see if we can use that to cover up the gap. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I've got some of this plastic wire stuff up here. And I think this is enough. This is strong enough to cover that gap. So I think I can get a lightweight enough post in the ground, attach this to that, and then another post beside it and attach the door to that. And this will be enough to keep predators out and chickens in. And then we can just take like a tarp or something when it's cold to keep the wind out. So maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe it doesn't need to be like a really solid material. I think this is going to work. Check it out. Not bad, right?
Yeah, as long as everything gets shored up.
Sure enough. So I dug this out and tucked this plastic up underneath here and covered it up so that this is solid all the way from here to here. But we do have a gap between the T-post and the plastic. Then we are using our polybraid wire that we use on the fence to sew up anything where the plastic meets plastic or another material. So all these windows right here are sewn up with this. And again, for the last 2 years or so, we've been able to use the Velcro on these windows just like they came. But we've had so many hard winds and it's been super cold and everything is just super worn out in here. So we debated on just buying a new greenhouse, but we figured we'd give this one another year if we can get everything patched up. So I think with some of this and with our new entrance we might be in good shape. I'll show you the strap that we used. I think it was at the very first year, so about 2 years ago, we had basically hurricane force winds come through here, and we were out here, it was like 15 degrees too. We were literally out here holding this down from the inside, and everything was flapping around. And one of the things we had to do was put this strap across the top of this greenhouse. And we did this that day just to keep it down for that day. Comes down into one of those stakes with a curlicue on it. We got it from Dollar Tree. It's what you would use for like your dog if you staked it down and had a leash and collar. I actually bought those. I bought a bunch of those a while back. We were raising goats, and so we would just stake goats all over the field with a lot of rope, and they would eat up that whole field within like a day. But they do it in like crop circles, which was kind of funny. But anyway, that's how we stake this down. And then we put a layer of chicken wire around the base of this to try to keep the predators out. Also on the inside, we had to put a lot of weight because after the first year, so look at, these are all logs running on the outside. And we basically had to bury this plastic into the ground all the way around. Again, the first year it was okay, everything stayed tied on, but as the winds got crazy, this stuff would just start picking up in different parts. So this greenhouse has definitely seen some things, but I think we're gonna get another winter out of it.
Look at how this turned out. That's like super secure. I feel really good about that. And the bottom,
Yeah.
nothing's getting through that.
And that's better airflow than they had before.
I don't think anything could like
No,
if
and
they were running, they could. But
and
they
we're
could
gonna
do
cover
it
this with
anyway.
tarp too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to have to just roll this all the way down. So it may have been more secure, but there was a lot less airflow. But now that we're shutting these windows, we definitely need to have some airflow. So I think we'll run a tarp about up to here or something, maybe 4 foot up, and then the air will come through the top. It's super cold. We can lay this up against it and put some wood or something, right? I'm not cutting that out.
Happy birds.
How would you rate your new place? You have any words for the viewers? They love that perch.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our plans ended up changing throughout the day, and a lot of the things we thought we were going to do, we had to do a totally different way with different tools and different materials. But that's pretty on par for farming. So I think one of the best skill sets to have when you're farming is adaptability, because you never know what's going to happen. And I'm pretty proud of how this turned out, being that we used the materials we had scattered around the farm here. So we could have just bought a new greenhouse, but I think this is going to last us another year, and we saved some money. We used some materials that were sitting around. So all in all, pretty good day. Thanks for watching, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our next video.